Let's go to the issue of teacher evaluation, because it seems to me that whether we're talking Jeffrey Canada in New York or Kaya Henderson in Washington, D.C., teachers have now taken a central role in the movement of school reform, and the evaluation of those teachers is what is leading to a great deal of controversy here. Earlier this month, we spoke with the new president of the Washington Teachers Union, Nathan Saunders. He told us that his priority for the union is changing impact, the system Michelle Rhee put in place to evaluate teacher effectiveness. What conversations have you had with him about the impact system, and what, if anything, would you consider changing?
First of all, let me be very clear that my team developed the impact evaluation system, and the reason we developed it is because we are clear that a highly effective teacher in every single classroom is our biggest leverage point to ensure that students have the education that they deserve. And so part of the challenge was when we got here in 2007, some 80-something% of the teaching force was rated meets or exceeds expectations, and only 8% of our children were reading at grade level. And so there's a significant disconnect. Part of the reason was because student achievement wasn't a factor in teacher evaluation, which seems odd. But is true, and is not just true in Washington, it's true across the country. And so what you've seen is a movement nationwide to ensure that student achievement is taken into account in terms of how we evaluate teachers. You can't say somebody is effective if they aren't moving their students. And part of that is spurred by Race to the Top. I think the Obama administration and Secretary Duncan threw down the gauntlet and said, this is important to us and we'll put money behind it. But lots of us were working on that even before Race to the Top came along. As I spoke with Mr. Saunders, what he said to me is, there are things about impact that I'd like to change. And I said, I'm happy to consider whatever changes you have. Let me know what they are and we can discuss them. But if the changes include removing student achievement as a measure, I'm not interested. If the changes include, eliminating master educators who are an objective third party, our teachers said to us very clearly as we were developing this, I don't just want to be evaluated by my principal. If they like me or they don't like me, that weighs in. I'd like to be evaluated by somebody who knows my content area and who is objective. And so we've hired some of the most talented teachers across the country to come in and observe our teachers in addition to the principal, and that allows for much more objectivity in what is inherently a subjective process.
There are two aspects of that I'd like to look at, because if student performance is going to be an important ingredient in teacher evaluation, one of the aspects, we had Montgomery County Superintendent Jerry Wiest on recently, and you talk about master teachers. He's a fierce advocate for incorporating peer review into teacher evaluations. What's the difference between, or the relationship between, peer review and master teacher evaluation?
Sure. So I think they are two sides of the same coin. The concept around peer review is having somebody who is not the supervisor and who is a teacher come in and provide feedback on the teacher's evaluation, and we call them master educators. In other places, they're called peer reviewers.
The other aspect of that, yes, he's going to pull out the race card now. The other aspect of that is when it would appear to some people that African American teachers and older African American teachers seem to be more adversely affected by impact or other forms of teacher evaluation than other teachers. And so Nathan Saunders, for one, raised the issue when he appeared on this broadcast, saying that African American teachers are a bastion of the African American middle class, and so race should be taken into consideration when evaluating these teachers. How do you take race into consideration in that situation?
We don't take race into consideration. At the end of the day, I've never met an evaluation system where someone's race actually impacted whether or not they performed well. And
how do you deal with that perception?
Well, I mean, the teaching force is disproportionately.
African American teachers, and especially older African American teachers, are disproportionately affected by impact evaluation.
Well, I think that older African American teachers are disproportionately represented or in the teaching force. And so we would expect when the vast majority of our teachers are African American and older, that you would see those kinds of similar numbers. But we haven't seen a disproportionate effect.